So hi everyone, I'll be the next one talking. My name's Azia. So I was born here in Montreal, and I'm currently studying. I'm majoring in bioengineering. So it is a program in the Faculty of Engineering, and I'm minoring in arts, anthropology, and philosophy. And the only reason I really even mention what I'm studying here is because oftentimes I hear this. I think there's kind of a misconception around a lot of engineering students. When you're studying engineering, it does not have to be your whole identity. Your identity does not just have to be, I'm an engineering student. It is for some people, and that's totally fine, but that wasn't the case for me. I wanted to kind of do things which you could probably guess with my minor outside of my immediate, I guess you could say, career choice. And so I'm a fourth year student at McGill. And the picture you see over there, that's actually my cohort, like the entering year. That was about a week or two after I started at McGill. I look kind of awkward in the picture. I'm the person in the yellow t-shirt, that bright yellow t-shirt. And it was a choice I made. But a lot of those people you see there have become my closest friends. I ended up living with a few of them, and all these relationships all formed through participating in events at the university, outside of the university with these people. And so I think that's something important to keep in mind. As focused as you are on school and classes, if you ask someone, 10 years after they've graduated, like about their university, their time in university, most often people will talk about the experiences they had outside of the classroom, right? Usually people don't talk about, ooh, I loved going to that one class. So I think that's something to keep in mind if you really want to make the most out of your time at McGill. So you could just go to the next slide. So I'll start off by just talking a little bit about like the jobs I've had, because I know I have friends who don't work during their time at university, but I always have. I've always worked in CEGEP in university because it's something I actually enjoy, which I know is hard for some people to believe, but I like having kind of a scheduled hours during my week where I can go and do something that's not school. And obviously hanging out with friends is something like that as well, or doing whatever extracurricular. But for me, a job is something I can't say no to, even during like an exam season or something. So it's a way for me to have like a mental break from everything, regardless of what's going on. So the bottom right corner, that was the very first time I volunteered at an event at McGill. It was an open house. I actually had only been at McGill a month. I knew nothing. I don't know how I was allowed to help at that event. But I later volunteered to give a tour because they were short on tour guides in the Faculty of Engineering. And that's eventually how I became a campus tour guide as well. I've also been a tour guide at a museum. You may have seen that if you went to like Oshiaga or something, that big ball in Parc Jean Drapeau. Worked in there, giving presentations and climate change, just issues that I was passionate about and I wanted to talk about with people. And now I work part-time at a bookstore. To be honest, mostly just for the discount on the books. But I think that's something to keep in mind. I think if you do have to work, which is the reality for a lot of university students, if you can find something that you enjoy going to, that you don't hate, I think that's really important because work can be something that's also has a positive impact on your mental health as a university student. Yeah, so you could go on to the next slide. So that being said, I did also go on an internship for 8 months. I get this question a lot, so I just gave you guys a screenshot of my transcript. That's literally from my transcript at the bottom there of the screen, because I get asked if people, if it'll show up somewhere, because I went during a school semester, so I postponed graduation basically by a year by doing this. Yes, you could see it enters as a course code, industrial practicum 2. That just means it was my second set of 4 months on an internship. In case you care, it is on your transcript. If you want it to be, you don't have to. But the research I did, the reason I did this internship was just because I wanted to kind of have an opportunity to apply in a practical sense the things I'd been learning for the past, at that point, 2 years. University, you are learning a lot of things all at once. So it can be nice to kind of take a moment and actually meet people in the field you're going to be working in and get to apply some of, like in my case, why am I learning all this math? Actually using it in a lab is really cool. And so this is what I enjoyed about my internship. It gave me an idea of what I liked, what I didn't like. I got a lot of advice working, with people in different points in their careers and doing their master's degrees. people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. So I met a lot of really cool researchers as well. So that was a positive for me. And it helped me kind of come back to McGill, to my classes with kind of feeling refreshed and feeling like, okay, this is the reason why I'm learning all this stuff. I want to do this. And yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about the research I did, but it was on a biosensor. So it's a specific part of like an electrical circuit called the transistor, just makes a signal stronger. And it was to test different things in sweat. So it looks a little bit like that thing in the bottom right corner. You can go to the next slide. And in terms of clubs that I was part of, I may say something scandalous as an engineering student here, but what I quickly realized testing out different activities was that I didn't like certain things that a lot of other engineering students seem to love. And you know, that's okay too. So just to give you a different perspective, something really popular are the design teams in the Faculty of Engineering, which are really fun, and you can get a lot of really good direct like almost work-like experience. It can be good for a CV, let's say, to do something, and some people really love doing it. But so I had joined initially in my first year the 3D printing design team, which was really cool. We were designing a prosthetic arm that we could 3D print and assemble. But what I did quickly realize was that I wanted my extracurriculars to be something that weren't directly related to what I was studying. I wanted them to be a break from engineering, even though I love it, but I wanted a break from that when I was taking these, you know, whatever hours a week to kind of dedicate myself to something. So that's why I eventually became a homework zone mentor. This is just, I basically would tutor a kid in grade 5 1 day per week for 3 hours. We tutoring and like, you know, we'd organize activities for them. And I thought this was really fun. I did this for a year and a half. I would do it now too, if I could. And it was a really great way to kind of take a break from, again, you know, high stress environment, which during finals or during midterms, and just, you know, help a kid with their like grade 5 math or French or whatever it was. I thought it was really enjoyable. Even though the kids always thought I was ancient and no one believed I was born in 1998 because they were all born in like 2006, but you know, it is what it is. And then one other thing I did that I did really enjoy was I participated in my bioengineering. As Mark mentioned, each department usually has a student society. So I was part of the Bioengineering Undergraduate Student Society just as a mental health and equity representative. So whenever there were events, making sure everyone felt comfortable, and as well as throughout the semester, making sure people had access or knew of the resources offered at the university and off campus as well. It's something I did enjoy doing. So you could go to the next slide. And yeah, so of course, there's other things you can do at the university, which aren't these, you know, long-term clubs. There's things happening all the time, as I'm sure other people will talk about. One thing I really enjoyed is our student society organized a trip to Toronto, a weekend trip, partly for networking, and then also just to spend some time in Toronto as with your friends that you made in your program. It was really fun and really cheap too as well, because it was funded by the student society. One other thing I really liked was going on lab tours. So it's the picture in the middle is actually a lab in Laval, a company that some of my friends ended up working for actually. I was just testing out one of their devices. This was also my first year. And there's always, you know, banquets, dinners, events going on. Guys, I'm sure have all heard about Frosh, but there are kind of equivalents for current students, like for engineering students, eWeek, and other faculties have it as well, which I personally liked more than Frosh just because I knew the people already and I felt a bit more comfortable. And it's kind of the same thing like Frosh. And then finally, just wanted to let you know, even now there is stuff going on. Obviously it's different, but student societies and all the clubs and groups are still trying to organize activities. And I think it's important to keep that in mind, even though things have changed, that support system and that kind of fun that you have, you can still kind of do it. It's different, but you can still do it. So some things that our student society organized was like dinner, like we did the banquet, actually, we did it on Zoom. We've done like scavenger hunts that we posted on like whatever, like this, we had a TikTok competition at one point. Like we've been doing things anyways to try and have fun online. And yeah, so that tight community is still there. So yeah, and I think ultimately just want to leave with this idea that I think it can be really easy when you're studying and you're thinking ahead of like your career choices to focus a lot on like what looks good on a, in my experience, what looks good on a CV, or, you know, is this a useful way to use my time? And I think sometimes you just have to do things because you want to do them because they're fun. Not everything needs to be for some purpose. And I think that's something important to keep in mind. So yeah, thank you guys. Feel free to ask me any questions in the chat